Welcome back to my super messy garage. There's been some projects going on. I'm about to start another. I bought long tube headers for the Miata. Look at these bad boys. These are from, I forgot the brand. Here it is. There's the name. My current exhaust is completely stock. Everything except the cat delete. Really nice thing about the Miata is you can just unbolt the cat. There's no cutting or welding you need to do. Really nice. Another thing, there's no sensors after the cat, so you won't get any check engine lights or anything. And where I live, I don't need a catalytic converter after a vehicle is 25 years old, so I can do whatever I want. I'm gonna go ahead and play some sound clips of my completely stock exhaust aside from the D-Cat. I'm gonna do a cold start, warm start, and some revs. All right, I've gotten most of the stuff off. I believe you would call this the downpipe. I know it's not turboed, but I think this is referred to as the downpipe. This actually is pretty heavy. I haven't held this in a while. Everything came off fairly easy. I feel like I've got some weirdly good luck today. I'm all over that, but I've taken it off before, so that's partially why. But that is pretty restrictive. That's a solid 10 pounds. The other one, the whole thing is like maybe 10 pounds. This is just one part of it. So I need to take the headers off. I've already broken all the bolts loose. There's the stock headers. Baller. Yeah, there's a coolant line. There we go. Headers are out. Now, I mean, these honestly are pretty good headers for stock. They do restrict quite a bit. It's kind of cool that they come with headers, and these, I guess, would almost be considered shorties. There it is. This is not the first time. The second time I've seen it like this. And if you're wondering, if you haven't seen my other video, I replaced the little O-ring that's down in here. That's why I had all this off. You don't have to take the headers off, but I'm, a little bit crazy. I want to make a little note. If you're installing headers ever on the 93 and earlier Miatas, I would assume, I don't know about later NA Miatas, there's a bracket. Most people wouldn't take this off. Maybe. I'm not sure. There's not really any instructions on these headers, but I know what to do. Let me show you something. This is the downpipe. These two bolt holes, bolts for your transmission bell housing, go through these. This goes to your transmission, and then a long bolt slips through this clamp and tightens onto this welded nut. Since I have new headers, they don't need this anymore. They just don't use one. It's stiff enough, and it shouldn't contact anything. The dilemma is I put the transmission bolts back in, and I'm going to torque them. It's just 2 bolts, but they don't go in all the way because they're not threaded all the way. That wasn't a problem when I had this because this was acting as a washer. It spaced it off of the bell housing. I need to go get washers, so they didn't give me any. There's no instructions really, but if you're ever installing these, you're gonna need a washer. I'm gonna go buy some. I don't think you want this in there. Since you're not using it, you probably want to remove it because if anything's gonna get contacted, it's this. Your kind of downpipe on the new headers, even though it's all one piece, is going to contact this because look, I mean, these were together at some point, and the new ones are slightly larger and don't have this, so there's going to be like that much room, and it does flex, so I'm going to go get a washer. Goodbye. I got washers. So they don't have extra thick washers or like the ones that I was looking for. So what I'm going to do, I have 2 bolts. I have 4 washers. I'm going to stack them, and that's completely fine. If you didn't know, washers have 2 different sides. You have your flatter side and your rounded, prettier side. I like to put the flatter side down. It makes a better mating surface. And then you have the prettier side facing up towards whoever's looking at it. It's just a little something I do because I'm, utterly insane. Here's my 2 stacks. Basically, I'm trying to make this because I don't need this anymore. So I'm trying to make this, if this was a washer. Boom. Of course I drop it. Boom. You see? If that was a washer. Half the thickness, I bought 2, double it up. You know what I'm saying. I've got a little something I bet you don't have, and I'm so happy to have it. I call this thing the Miata Bible. Look at this, everything. They even show you how to rebuild your transmission. That little thing is the bracket that I'm replacing with the washers. That's a bolt, there's the line going into it. That's where it goes on the transmission. What is it labeled? A. You go down to the key, A. 47 to 66 foot-pounds, so I'm going to do 60 foot-pounds. I couldn't find any paper. Usually we have paper, I don't know what happened. So I have a towel. If you're looking for the torque specs, I found them for you. This is an average of the torque specs, leaning towards the higher end, because when you find a torque spec, it's usually in a range. For the header to the engine nuts, those will all be torqued at 30 foot-pounds. I did buy a Track Dog heat shield for the headers because I can't reuse the stock heat shield. And I want to keep temps down, especially by my brake reservoir. There's only 2 mounting points on the new heat shield, aside from like the 6 or 7 that was on the old one. On the old one, it used 80 inch-pounds for the heat shield, so that's what I'm going to do here. They have like a little instruction thing, didn't really say any torques. I did skim through it, but it's very simple. So I'm going to do 80 inch-pounds, and if I mess it up, I'll let you know, and then don't do 80 inch-pounds. But the 30 foot-pounds, that's still true, so do that. I have some fairly clean towels. Whose G-Wagon is that? That's not a... You hear that? That's not a G-Wagon. It's a X5 with the V8. It's one of my buddies. That's awesome. I got that on camera. It sounds pretty good. I'm gonna wipe this down. I've got some 91% isopropyl alcohol. This is what I've seen the other YouTubers do, so I'm sure it'll work. Okay, that's all clean. Let's install. I think I'm ready. I feel like I'm missing something, but oh well. Now they say to jack up the headers from the back, like on the underside of the car, since it's all one piece instead of 2 pieces. Unless I run into an issue, I'm not doing that. There we go. Headers are on. Look at those pretty boys. FYI, the O2 sensor is a 22 millimeter. I used a box-in wrench. There's no torque. I looked through 2 different books for a torque. I could not find one, so make it tight. Pardon the chainsaw noises. Denatured alcohol on a zap cloth. And now for heat shield. Okay, first start with the new long tube stainless steel headers. headers make a difference? Yes. Yes, they do. I can confidently say they do make minor differences, but are noticeable. I'm going to go over some of those differences. The low-down torque in first and second gear from the 3,000 to 5,000 RPM range has increased. You don't get quite as much pull to redline as you would with the stock ones, but these headers do advertise as a little bit lower down torque, which is better for daily driving and around town driving where you're not always bringing it to redline. I really like it, and it does feel like the overall power has increased a little bit. The throttle response, it's snappier. The revs drop a good bit quicker, and it revs up a little quicker. I really like that. That's one of my favorite things with the headers. Would I recommend the headers? Yes. Don't go spend like $1,000 on headers. That's dumb. Mine were about $400 or $500. I think that's a very reasonable price. I got them from Goodwin Racing. They're the Roadster Sport headers. I'll put a link in the description if you want to go get them, along with the Cat Delete. I think that's about all I want to go over. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.